Hello, my lovely people, and welcome to Owen's Mind, a light-hearted trip through the contents of my head and the world in general. It is Sunday, the 27th of October. My name is Owen. Here is what is on my mind today. So first, straight off the bat, it's quite early on a Sunday morning, but even so, there's a guy outside doing work. They're doing some renovations next door, so you may hear some hammering, drilling, and sanding in the background. I do apologise. Hopefully it's not too intrusive. I know the sound quality on my videos is not great at the minute anyway, because I'm going off like a webcam mic, so it's not incredible. You might not hear it, but just if you do, that's what it is. Anyway, as always, I've picked out 5 stories making the headlines today I wanted to give my thoughts on. Links are in the description so you can read each article in full and just show those original publications some love. So, without any further ado, let's go into story number 1. And story number 1 today comes from CNBC Make It. And yeah, J.K. Rowling has made a powerful plea to young people going travelling. So when I saw this headline, I thought, well, it's going to be about staying safe when you travel because, you know, there's sadly, you know, you hear about backpackers going this and that. It's not that. It's about volunteering in orphanages. So I'll read a little bit from the article. So Harry Potter author J.K. Rowling said young people should avoid visiting or volunteering in orphanages when they go travelling. She was speaking at a 2019 One Young World Summit in London on Thursday to launch a new campaign, #HelpingNotHelping. By a children's charity, Lumos. The charity was named after a light-giving spell from the books. You know, so you've seen the movies. Lumos brings light, so you know, a nice name. It was founded in 2005 with a mission to have all children of the world out of institutions by 2050. Okay, the campaign aims to change attitudes towards orphanage, tourism and volunteering, which she said was driving family separation and put children at risk of neglect and abuse. She said in some cases orphanages were set up to exploit children and using them as bait for foreign donations and as a volunteer experience, with money going into the pockets of those running the institutions rather than going towards helping the children. So yeah, she said, please don't volunteer in orphanages, and young people should not visit these institutions. Please don't give your time to propping up a system we know does serious harm. If young people did have the money to give when they travelled, she advised them to give to local businesses as this better helped communities. She also urged people to do their due diligence when considering supporting a charity and projects to ensure it was dealing with the root cause of the problem. She says, we are looking to educate people because changing mindsets is going to make the difference. So often young people go to visit or volunteer in orphanages with the belief that they're helping children, but they are appalled when the facts are laid out in front of them. She says if we took the same funding we're pouring into these institutions and put it towards community services and to strengthen support for the families, we know we could change the world. Research from Lumos and British think tank YouGov, which surveyed 1,000 young people aged 17 to 22, found that 1 in 5 UK students had either visited or volunteered at an orphanage overseas or knew somebody who has. It also discovered that the majority of these trips were not planned by the young people themselves, with 70% of the visits being organised by schools, universities and other education organisations. So, yeah, it's sad that people's goodwill is being exploited for profit. So, you know, young people are going, I've got some time, I want to expand my horizons, I want to give back, maybe on a gap year from university or whatever it happens to do. We want to do some good, so we're going to volunteer at an orphanage and help these kids, these underprivileged kids, you know, and donate money and donate time. But now it seems that some of these, and certainly not all of them, but some of them are being set up to entice people into that, as bait, as it says in the article, to bring people in to get money off them. Now, I experienced this a tiny little bit, and you can't really equate it, but it's this kind of, I had the same sort of reaction. I spent a little bit of time in China. I had a Chinese girlfriend, and we went there, and there's a lot of, in her city, there was a lot of people begging on the streets, and some of them had, you know, damage to their limbs, bone deformities essentially, you know, their legs were twisted the wrong way and this kind of horrible things. And naturally you'd kind of take pity on them. And she was like, don't. Number one, it encourages them to beg and bother people, which, like, well, you know, fair enough. But the real kicker was gangs of people, gangs of criminals, get children purposely purposely injure them and twist limbs and let them set in horrible angles, and then force them to stand on the street to garner sympathy, to gain money, which these gangs then take. So they're purposely injuring and deforming these kids to play on the generosity and the goodwill of what they perceive to be wealthy foreign tourists. I'm not wealthy, but I am a foreign tourist. It's just horrible. And this is the same sort of thing. It's like, we know people have got goodwill and people are generally good people. And they're going to give us time and they're going to give us money. So how do we make them do that for our benefit as opposed to the children's benefit? And this is what they're doing. So it's brilliant that this has been highlighted, and it's saying, it is wonderful that you want to give your time and give your money, but just be sure you know where you're giving it to. So again, she says due diligence. Look at where your money is best going to help. Is it going to help going to this institution who might be siphoning it off for their own personal gain? Or is it better going to a community project where it's going to strengthen their community and bring people together in a positive way? So, yeah, it's a horrible... People are horrible, aren't they? I always preach on this channel that people are generally good people, and people generally are. The majority of people generally are. But then there's that small section who are just like horrendous. This is not just a little bit underhand. This is horrible. And what I experienced was horrible. And it's like, can we not just... Yeah, anyway. So she's kind of said, this campaign, #helping not helping, is basically you're going to do more help by not helping these particular institutions and supporting the exploitation of these kids, and give your time and money to somewhere where it's definitely going to go to help to improve their lives. So there you go. Glad that she's highlighted it, and that hopefully less and less is now going to go to these exploitative institutes, and more will go to where it's actually going to be needed. Okay, so let's move on. Story number 2. So story number 2, we've got a double header now from Sky News. The first one, Kurt Cobain's cigarette burn cardigan sells for auction £250,000. So yes, this was worn during Nirvana's Unplugged session. Sold for £260,000. The olive green mohair cardigan epitomised the fashion of the grunge scene of the early 90s, and even has a cigarette burn in one of the pockets. The MTV gig, which took place in November 1993, featured many of the band's lesser-known hits and covers. Julian's Auctions chief executive, Darren Julian, said earlier in the week, even though Kurt Cobain died 27 years old, over 25 years ago, there's still a fascination with his music, and he's constantly getting a new fan base. It's played all over the world, and now there's a surge in collectability of his items. The singer's custom-made guitar sold for £265,000 also. Turquoise Fender, which Cobain played during the band's In Utero tour, was made in 1993 and was previously on display at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Cobain's wife, Courtney Love, wrote an accompanying letter of provenance saying the guitar was one of Cobain's favourites. It had been thought that it could raise up to $409,000, but it went for $265,000, which is no small amount. Cobain himself died on the 5th of April 1994, age 27, from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. So, first and foremost, I can't believe it's been 25 years. I was a bit of a Nirvana fan. I was introduced to it by a friend of mine called Dave, and he's like, I didn't know anything about them at the time, and then, we went through Bleach and In Utero, and it just, at the time, it just kind of suited my taste, and I loved Nirvana. So yeah, they've auctioned off some of Kurt's possessions. It doesn't say what the money's for. It doesn't say if it's going to a charity or if it's going just for the family or whatever. But memorabilia it's big money, especially now. Like I did another video, a thoughts video about supply and demand. 25 years he's been gone, so there is no new material. So whatever exists that he created or that he wore or that he had an influence on, that's all there is. There's never going to be any more. So if you're a fan and you want a piece of that memory, then that was it. And so somebody's obviously done that. They bought the cardigan, they bought the guitar, and yeah, it's part of me is like, is not this a little bit morbid? I think where I'm struggling is more because of the way his life ended. And I remember it in the news at the time. Again, I can't believe it's been 25 years. But it seems a little, I don't know, maybe it's just me. Had he just passed away, he'd had a long, happy life and then he'd gone, or he just retired, I could kind of justify this. Money wise, again, it's what I always say. If it's worth it to you, you pay it. If it's not, you don't. So I'm not talking about the amounts of money, but just buying something that belongs to a guy who took his life. I don't know. It just sits a little weird with me. But it's like buying stuff from serial killers and the World War II, the Nazi memorabilia. It just seems, I don't know. For me, it just doesn't sit right. But that's just me. If these people, they obviously wanted to them it was like, it's maybe for them it's an honouring of his memory. It's a focal piece. They're going to have that, and so that was played by Kurt when he, at the height of his fame, when everything was well, when everything was going good for the band, and hopefully everyone was in a good place. So maybe it's that. I don't know, but there you go. Big business for the memorabilia, and yeah, so it doesn't say anything about the buyers, so it could be maybe these things are going to be put on the show, maybe it's just for the individual and they're going to just be treasured in place in a somewhere of provenance in their own home. Who's to say? Anyway, let's move on. Story number 3, again from Sky News. The World Cheese Awards have just happened and the French are not happy. Yeah, so French national pride is on the floor after the country's famous cheeses were snubbed at an international awards ceremony. To make matters worse, a British cheese finished higher in the rankings at the World Cheese Awards, while a US product took the top prize. Yeah, so judges only put one French cheese, a soft cow's milk cheese from Burgundy, in the top 15 at the event in Bergamo, Italy. It took joint 8th place, tied with the Swiss Gruyere, leaving the French, who consider themselves purveyors of the world's finest cheeses, with a sour taste in their mouths. Yeah, to make matters worse, that was 4 places below Britain's top entry, Pitchfork Cheddar, made in the Somerset town of Trethowens Dairy. Winning entry, Rogue River Blue from Oregon, illustrated how cheese making has taken on an international flavour, with creations from Mexico, Barbados and Australia also competing. So there was 3,804 cheeses from 42 countries all entered. 3 of the British cheeses, a Caerphilly, a buffalo milk cheese and a blue, took 11th, 12th and 13th places, but the result was kicked up quite a stink across the channel. One newspaper, Owen France, describing it as sacrilege, and it was shocked that the world's best cheese is not French. However, John Ferrand, the managing director of the Guild of Fine Food, which organises the World Cheese Awards, had little sympathy. So we try to celebrate cheese from around the world, especially those made by similar artisan cheesemakers. Good cheese is made around the world, not just by the French. I know lots of French people who work in cheese who know that fine cheeses are made in many different countries. So yeah, apparently the French are being kind of French about this. But to me, this is good news. This is a good thing, and it's not, chest beating national pride. Oh, the British beat the French. Not that at all. What it is like the kind of the world over. The stereotype is Italians do style, French do food. If your nation is known for doing something really well, Italians it's style, the French it's food. So by them not doing so well this year, hopefully they're going to step up their game and we're going to get some incredible cheeses in the coming years. I like a cheese. I like good cheese. So yeah, hopefully, it says that one newspaper, this Ouest France, describing it as sacrilege. It doesn't say it's a national outcry, and we don't know the kind of response. But, if they feel a little bit, hang on a minute, no, now we're on a world stage, and other countries are getting in on this, and they're producing some really good quality entries, we've got to step up our game. And they know what they're doing, but maybe the lack of competition has made them, a little bit, maybe they've rested on their laurels a little bit, and this is going to inspire them, and we're going to get some great stuff going forward. So, yeah, what are the British known for? Like I say, Italian style, French food. What are we good at? What have we got worldwide? I don't know what it would be. If you used an American, what would you think, what the British known for. It'd be something like dry wit or something. I can't think of any particular product or item that we're synonymous with for making of great quality. So I'm not talking like the Red London bus or the taxi, not kind of visual things. What would you think of when you see that? Because that for the French, that would be, well, you think of France, you think of the Eiffel Tower. When you think of, Britain, you think of the red bus. Like, what are we known for? I'm not quite sure what it would be. I hope it's something flattering. Probably isn't, but I hope it is. Anyway, let's move on. Story number 4. This is Mail Online. So, Brian May says Queen will never play Glastonbury because the founder, Michael Eaves, supports a badger cull. So this is kind of a butting of heads, a disagreement. So Brian May said Queen will never play Glastonbury due to its founder's support of a badger cull. So Michael Eaves, 84, who founded Glastonbury, is also a dairy farmer and is called Mayor Danger over his opposition to the cull, which is aimed at curbing bovine tuberculosis. So this is what's called a cycle of reinfection. So cows infect badgers and badgers then infect dairy cows. May 72, yesterday, rubbish claims that his band have been booked to headline Glastonbury's 50th anniversary next year. So Mr. Eaves has frequently insulted him. The musician described badger cull as an unnecessary crime. In an interview with Zoe Ball on BBC Radio 2, May said of Glastonbury, there was a little bit of a schism there. He said he would not perform at the festival unless things changed radically. Queen now tours with Adam Lambert, 37, as a lead singer, replacing obviously Freddie Mercury, who rose to fame after appearing on the US version of Pop Idol. So I kind of see both sides here. Now, I do not agree with culling animals. I don't know if there's a better way though. So from Eaves' perspective, he's a dairy farm. That's what the farm does 99% of the time when it's not hosting the festival. It's a working dairy farm. So, he needs to protect his animals from the spread of this tuberculosis, which is a horrible thing. Badgers are the culprits, so that's what you're going to target. Is a cull the best way to do it? Is the only way to do it? I don't know. I don't know if there's inoculations. I don't know what it can be. But from his perspective, he is protecting his business. So May said, I don't agree with that. So he's taken his moral stance. He's like, we're not going to support a event run by a man who is supporting cults. So I can kind of see both sides. I appreciate that May is taking a moral stance, because 50th anniversary of Glastonbury is going to be huge, let's face it. Queen at Glastonbury would be monumental, and he could clean up, so there's all the money in the world on the table. You could argue they don't need it, they've had enough success over the years, but again, they could easily turn up, do the set, make probably millions, but they've said no, from a moral standpoint, we're not going to turn up and take the check because we don't agree with it. So fair play to May and the rest of the band for saying, you know what, this is more important to us. We don't need the publicity, we don't need the money, and even if we did, we're not doing it because of the stance of the actual landowner. So that's fair play. From Eaves' perspective, he's like, well, yeah, I've got a business to run, and I need to be able to protect my livestock, so this cull is necessary. So he's kind of standing by what he needs to do as well. So they're kind of both. You can't really take a side here. I mean, the cull is that's the sticking point for me. Is that an absolute necessity? Is there no other way to protect these animals? I don't know. But I'd like to think there was. I'd like to think that there was some other route whereby you'd have to kill these poor creatures, because a cull is just essentially, it's just wipe them out because they are. It doesn't say they're a pest, but that's kind of what you do, isn't it? Control the numbers. They're bringing a lot of harm and disease to these livestock who are his business. They're his moneymaker, so he needs them. He needs to protect them. But I don't know if a cull's the only way to do it. If a cull is the only way to do it, if there is absolutely no other way, and as unpleasant as it is, but that's what they've got to do, then fair enough. It's just going to have to be a draw. It's a stalemate because May's like, look, I can't support this cull, so we're not playing. And Eves is like, there is no other way. So we'll just have to agree to disagree. If there is another way, then I'm going to come down on May's side a little bit more. If there's an alternative to this having to take place, this cull having to take place, then fair enough. But it doesn't really go into that, and I don't know enough about it. So, yeah, so sadly, if you're looking forward to Queen, I'm sure, being at the Now Tour, I'm sure you can catch him elsewhere, you just won't catch him at Glastonbury. So there you go. So, story number 5, this is a belter. This has been doing the rounds for a few days, but I thought I wanted to just mention it, just in case you guys weren't aware of it. This is nothing to post. Watch this guy accidentally blow up his entire yard while trying to kill some bugs. This is fantastic. Man in Brazil turned part of his backyard upside down in a misguided attempt to kill some bugs. He said, my wife complained there was a lot of roaches invading our garden. This is Caesar Schmitz. He told Focus on News, according to the New York Post. She's scared of them and begged me to destroy the nest under the ground once and for all. This is in his back garden, so he put gas into the hole, gasoline, and started throwing matches into it. Now you'll go to the. I encourage you to watch the video. So it's him in his back garden's all fenced in, and his dog's there looking at him, and he's poured a load of gasoline down his hole where these bugs are coming out of, and he's lobbing lit matches at it, and nothing really happens for a little while, and then a match disappears down, and his entire back garden just turns over. The dog disappears off, it's safe, it's perfectly fine, and he just his reaction is really kind of, oh, that wasn't good. He doesn't seem shocked at all, it's unbelievable. He's the calmest guy, he just takes a step back as his entire garden just folds itself over. And the tragic thing is that after it, some of the bugs you can see him running off, so it doesn't even kill him. And yeah, so people have now been putting music to the dubstep and yeah, it's just one of those guy things. And I wanted to bring this up for 2 reasons. Number one, I had something similar happen to me, but in my defense, let me put this out a little caveat. So yeah, I've done dumb things in my time, but this, I was burning some rubbish and stuff down in the back garden where I used to live. And it was quite a windy day. So I put paving flags up around it as a bit of a windbreak. Okay, and you think, when you contain a fire, you put stone around it. That's what you do. That's what we've done since we were cavemen. So I put these paving flags round in a square, and I was burning, and it was bits of wood and stuff. I wasn't burning anything nasty or horrible. So I'm standing there. This fire is going lovely, and it's been going a little while, and everything's fine, and the wind's up, but it's contained as I wanted it to be. It's only a little fire. It's only a couple of foot square with these paving flags round. Paving flags they were extras. They've been stood in the corner of the garden for a while. All of a sudden, there's a bang. I mean, a huge bang, and I'm laid flat on my back, and my knee's bleeding, and I don't know what's gone on. One of these paving flags has exploded. I mean, it's come apart. So it was like a slate kind of effect paving flag, and it had separated, and it had come apart, and exploded, and it struck me in the side of the leg and took me off my feet. And I was like, I kind of came to, and it was just the fire was everywhere. It was all over the garden, and I was like, what the heck happened? Now apparently, I had a bit of a Google of this, going, why? Because was the water trapped inside that expanded? And no, apparently to make these paving flags, give them a bit of a shimmer, they'd put silica in it, and under a lot of heat, silica can expand and explode. And that's exactly what happened. So in my defense, I wasn't aware of this. I just thought it was a stone paving flag, and yeah. But the reason I kind of bring this up is you never see these videos with women. What is it about us guys? We're just kind of like, yeah, it'll be fine. It's like we never, and somebody says, oh, we've got a problem with this needs doing, that needs doing, this is broken. It's always like, I'll have a look at it. It's like, don't you want to get a professional in? It'll be fine. So this guy's obviously poured a load of, he's like, right, how can we get rid of bugs? Well, fire will probably get rid of them. What can I make a fire with? Petrol. So he's filled this hole with petrol, lobbed some matches in, and yeah, the whole garden gets turned over. So now, not only is he going to have to find a way to get rid of the bugs, probably going to have to get a landscaper in because it is a mess. So, yeah, how have we lasted as a species? Because we look at things like this, there's countless videos across the internet of people, guys in particular, doing stupid stuff like this. Things getting blown up, and cutting down trees is always a good one as well. Countless videos of guys, sat on a branch while sawing it off with a saint, that kind of thing, or you need to pull a fence post out. I'll just tie a rope around the back of the car and around this tree that's been stood there for 60 years, and I'll try and pull it out, and obviously it rips the back end of the car out. But why is it a guy thing? Why are we just stubborn and just like, no, I can do this. I don't need anybody else to do this. I am man, and I will find a way to solve this problem. Maybe women are just smarter. It's like, I don't know how to solve this effectively. I'm going to hire somebody who knows how to do this properly. And we're just like, nah, we'll be fine. I'll do it. And now he's had to go inside and say, honey, yeah, maybe not look out of the back garden for a while. Just so you know, the dog's fine. Do you get rid of the bugs? No. I may have cooked several of them, but no, they some of them got away. On the plus side, we'd have to mow the lawn for a while. So there you go. Yeah. Anyway, that's it, guys. Links to all the descriptions and stories I've talked about can be found below, so feel free to go and check them out. Let me know what you think about this video and tell me what stupid thing have you ever done because you didn't want to hire a professional to do it. Answers in the comments, please, along with any thoughts you'd like to share. These were mine. They're not necessarily important. They're not necessarily right or wrong. Just what was on my mind. So until next time, bye for now.